Today we will be reviewing the book, Les Misérables by Victor Hugo. Les Misérables is not simply a story about a former convict. It is an epic examination of justice, mercy, poverty, love, revolution, morality, and the human soul. Set in France in the early 19th century, the novel follows several interwoven lives over decades, revealing how individuals struggle within rigid social systems. At its heart, the story asks one essential question: can a person truly change? Through the journey of Jean Valjean and those around him, Hugo explores how compassion transforms lives and how society often fails its most vulnerable. If you enjoy content like this, subscribe to our channel to get notification for any new book review update. Tell us in the comment section the title of the books you will want to read with us here. The story begins in 1815 in the town of Digne. We are introduced to Bishop Myriel, a deeply compassionate and humble man who lives simply and gives almost everything he owns to the poor. Into this town arrives Jean Valjean, a hardened former prisoner. He has just been released after 19 years in prison, 5 years for stealing bread to feed his starving sister's child, and 14 more for repeated escape attempts. Though legally free, he carries a yellow passport marking him as a dangerous ex-convict. Everywhere he goes, he is rejected, insulted, and denied shelter. Finally, Bishop Myriel welcomes him into his home. Valjean, embittered and angry at society, steals the bishop's silver plates during the night and flees. He is quickly caught by the police and brought back. Instead of accusing him, the bishop tells the officers that he had given Valjean the silver, and even adds 2 silver candlesticks, saying Valjean forgot them. After the police leave, the bishop tells Valjean that he has bought his soul for God. This act of mercy shatters Valjean's hatred. He leaves Digne transformed, determined to become an honest man. This moment becomes the spiritual foundation of the entire novel. Years later, in the town of Montreuil-sur-Mer, a prosperous factory owner named Monsieur Madeleine has become mayor. He is generous, innovative, and beloved. This man is Jean Valjean under a new identity. Through intelligence and compassion, he creates jobs and improves the town's economy. But he lives in constant fear of being discovered. Meanwhile, a rigid police inspector named Javert becomes suspicious. Javert once worked as a prison guard and believes that criminals never change. He senses something familiar about Madeleine. Among the factory workers is Fantine, a young woman hiding a secret. Years earlier, she fell in love with a wealthy student who abandoned her after she gave birth to a daughter, Cosette. Unable to support the child alone, Fantine left Cosette with the Thénardiers, innkeepers in a distant village, paying them to care for her. Unknown to Fantine, the Thénardiers are cruel and greedy. They abuse Cosette and constantly demand more money. When Fantine's secret is exposed, other women accuse her of immorality. She is fired from the factory without Valjean knowing the truth. With no income, she sells her hair, then her teeth. Finally, she turns to prostitution to pay the Thénardiers' escalating demands. Her health declines rapidly. One night, after defending herself against a man who insults her, Fantine is arrested by Javert. Valjean intervenes, recognizing his responsibility. He learns of her suffering and promises to bring Cosette back to her. Fantine dies in poverty before this promise is fulfilled. Her death reveals the cruelty of a society that punishes women while protecting wealth and status. Soon after, a man is arrested in another town and mistaken for Jean Valjean. The trial is underway. If convicted, the innocent man will suffer Valjean's sentence. Valjean faces a terrible moral decision: remain silent and protect his new life, or reveal his identity and save a stranger. After deep anguish, he chooses truth. He appears in court and confesses. His decision costs him everything. Valjean is arrested but escapes again after dramatic events. Javert pursues him relentlessly. Valjean travels to find Cosette at the Thénardiers' inn in Montfermeil. There he sees the little girl abused, underfed, and forced to work like a servant while the Thénardiers' own daughters are pampered. On Christmas Eve, Valjean buys Cosette a doll, her first true gift. He pays the Thénardiers a large sum and takes Cosette away. Cosette becomes his reason to live. Valjean and Cosette settle in Paris, hiding in a convent for safety. There, Cosette receives education and affection. Valjean finds peace in raising her. Years pass. Cosette grows into a beautiful young woman. Valjean lives for her happiness, but fear of discovery never leaves him. The story shifts to Marius Pontmercy, a young man raised by his royalist grandfather. Marius discovers that his late father was a Napoleonic officer who loved him deeply. Moved by this revelation, Marius rejects his grandfather's politics and embraces republican ideals. He leaves home and lives in poverty in Paris. Marius encounters the Thénardiers again, now impoverished criminals living under false identities. They plot to rob a wealthy man, who turns out to be Jean Valjean. Marius overhears the scheme and struggles between revenge and mercy. Ultimately, police intervene and the criminals are arrested. Valjean escapes without knowing Marius's role. Marius sees Cosette in the Luxembourg Gardens and falls in love instantly. Cosette feels the same. Their love blossoms through secret letters and stolen meetings. Valjean senses the change in Cosette and fears losing her. He prepares to leave Paris to protect her from danger and from love. Marius, devastated by separation, considers despair. Marius becomes connected to a group of young revolutionaries led by Enjolras. They believe France must rise against injustice and corruption. In June 1832, following political unrest and economic suffering, a rebellion erupts in Paris. Barricades rise in the streets. Marius joins the revolution, partly out of idealism and partly out of heartbreak. Valjean learns of Marius's involvement. For Cosette's sake, he goes to the barricade, not to fight for politics, but to protect the man she loves. The fighting is fierce and hopeless. The revolutionaries are outnumbered. Javert infiltrates the barricade as a spy but is discovered and captured. The rebels vote to execute him. Valjean volunteers to carry out the execution. Instead, he takes Javert away and secretly releases him. This act of mercy devastates Javert's worldview. The rebellion collapses. One by one, the young revolutionaries die heroically. Marius is gravely wounded. Valjean carries his unconscious body through the sewers of Paris in a nightmarish journey through darkness and filth. In the sewers, Valjean encounters Thénardier, who attempts blackmail without recognizing him. Valjean emerges exhausted, only to find Javert waiting. But instead of arresting him, Javert allows Valjean to bring Marius home first. Afterward, unable to reconcile mercy with law, Javert commits suicide by throwing himself into the Seine. He cannot live in a world where justice includes forgiveness. Marius recovers and marries Cosette. Valjean, believing he is unworthy, reveals his criminal past to Marius. Marius, raised in rigid moral ideas, is horrified. He gradually distances Cosette from Valjean. Valjean quietly accepts this suffering, choosing their happiness over his own. Thénardier attempts to blackmail Marius with proof that Valjean is a murderer and thief. Instead, his information reveals the truth. Valjean saved Marius at the barricade. Marius realizes the depth of Valjean's sacrifice. By the time Marius and Cosette rush to reconcile, Valjean is dying. He has withdrawn from their lives to avoid harming them. In his final moments, Cosette embraces him. He tells her the truth about her mother and his love for her. The silver candlesticks from the bishop glow beside his bed. Valjean dies peacefully, having lived a life transformed by mercy. He is buried in an unmarked grave. 20 quotes from the book Les Misérables by Victor Hugo. On redemption and mercy. 1. Even the darkest night will end and the sun will rise. 2. To love another person is to see the face of God. 3. He never went out without a book under his arm, and he often came back with 2. 4. The greatest happiness of life is the conviction that we are loved. 5. There is always more misery among the lower classes than there is humanity in the higher. On justice and law. 6. The law is harsh, but it is the law. Javert 7. It is nothing to die. It is frightful not to live. 8. He who opens a school door, closes a prison. 9. An intelligent hell would be better than a stupid paradise. On love. 10. Life's great happiness is to be convinced we are loved. 11. The supreme happiness of life is the conviction that we are loved. Loved for ourselves. Say rather, loved in spite of ourselves. 12. You who suffer because you love, love still more. To die of love is to live by it. On revolution and hope. 13. The future has several names. For the weak, it is impossible. For the faint-hearted, it is unknown. But for the valiant, it is ideal. 14. There is one thing stronger than all the armies in the world, and that is an idea whose time has come. 15. Let us study things that are no more. It is necessary to understand them, if only to avoid them. On Suffering and Humanity. 16. Not being heard is no reason for silence. 17. To die is nothing, but it is terrible not to live. 18. Melancholy is the happiness of being sad. 19. The guilty one is not he who commits the sin, but he who causes the darkness. 20. People do not lack strength, they lack will. If you enjoy content like this, subscribe to our channel to get notification for any new book review update. Tell us in the comment section the title of the book you will want to read with us here. Life History of Victor Hugo. Early life, 1802 to 1820s. Victor Hugo was born on February 26, 1802, in Besançon, France. His father was a general in Napoleon's army, and his childhood was shaped by political instability and constant travel across Europe. From an early age, Hugo showed extraordinary literary talent. As a teenager, he famously wrote, "I want to be Chateaubriand or nothing." By his early 20s, he had already published poetry that brought him recognition and royal support. Rise to literary fame, 1830s. In the 1830s, Hugo became a leading figure in the Romantic movement in France. Romanticism emphasized emotion, individualism, and dramatic expression, all qualities Hugo mastered. In 1831, he published The Hunchback of Notre Dame, a novel that revived public interest in the Notre Dame Cathedral and helped preserve Gothic architecture in France. He became one of the most celebrated writers in Europe. Personal tragedy, 1843. In 1843, Hugo's life changed forever. His beloved daughter, Léopoldine, drowned in a boating accident at age 19. The tragedy devastated him. He withdrew from public life and later expressed his grief in deeply emotional poetry. This personal suffering gave his later works greater spiritual depth. Political exile, 1851 to 1870. Hugo was not only a writer, he was also politically active. He supported democracy and opposed authoritarian rule. When Napoleon III seized power in 1851, Hugo publicly criticized him. As a result, he was forced into exile for nearly 20 years, living in Belgium and on the Channel Islands. During exile, Hugo wrote some of his greatest works, including 1. Han d'Island, 1823, 2. Bug Jargal, 1826, 3. The Last Day of a Condemned Man, Le Dernier Jour d'un Condamné, 4. The Hunchback of Notre Dame de Paris, 5. Les Misérables, 6. The Toilers of the Sea, Les Travailleurs de la Mer, 7. The Man Who Laughs, L'Homme qui rit, 8. 93. Quatre-vingt-trois, Return as a National Hero, 1870. After the fall of Napoleon III, Hugo returned to France in 1870. He was welcomed as a hero. Crowds gathered to celebrate him, and he became a symbol of justice, freedom, and compassion. He continued writing and remained an influential moral voice in French society. Death and Legacy, 1885. Victor Hugo died on May 22, 1885, at the age of 83. His funeral was one of the largest in French history. More than 2 million people attended the procession in Paris. He was buried in the Panthéon, reserved for France's greatest citizens. Victor Hugo believed, education prevents crime. Mercy is stronger than punishment. Society must protect the poor. Love is humanity's highest virtue. Through characters like Jean Valjean, he showed that people can change, and that compassion transforms lives. Today, he remains one of the most powerful voices in world literature. If you enjoy content like this, subscribe to our channel to get notification for any new book review update. Tell us in the comment section the title of the book you will want to read with us here. We love you.